Welcome to another edition of What's Next? Living Longer, Better, Smarter. We have some interesting, fun, and even life-saving technology to tell you about. First, this message from our sponsor, VividPix.
So I've been in the photo business for 37 years, and I've seen a lot of things come go. But one thing has not changed, and that this wonderful thing we call a photograph captures a moment in time so that we're able to reminisce and relive those memories tomorrow. And it's important for us to do that so we can share them with loved ones and we can share them with future generations. So please don't let your memories fade. They're important.
I'm Fred Fishkin along with Mary Furlong. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Fred. Here we are on the longest day of the year and our first podcast for this summer.
And spring wrapped up with the very successful What's Next Longevity Venture Summit in Berkeley, getting rave reviews. And there's even bigger news, the arrival of your new grandson, Mary.
Yes, that was an exciting, very exciting time for our family. And they were able to bring our little grandson, Paul Frederick, home on Father's Day. So that was really special too.
And so polite, he waited for the summit to end.
Yes. And he's adorable. So, well, that was right after the Venture Summit concluded. It was a sellout crowd. So it's been a very exciting time for us all.
And congratulations to you, your husband, your son, and his growing family. Really wonderful. Well, we have a podcast to do, and this edition is titled Time for Some Tech. And our first guest was part of the Innovation Showcase at the Longevity Venture Summit. Sean Liu is with us from a company called Ping. Hi, Sean.
Hey, Fred. How you doing?
Sean, we were very excited to watch you pitch at the conference, and you got some meetings in your pitch for distribution. And now it's great to have you here on our podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. What a wonderful conference. I'm so glad to have been part of it.
Well, Ping is a new kind of wearable technology, and Sean will let you tell us what this is all about and how it's different wearable tech.
Yeah, so at Ping, we provide a very simple solution that comes in the form of a wearable and a mobile app. So the wearable is designed specifically for older adults. Currently, we're focused in senior living. It essentially combines what a typical wearable does with all the functionalities and measurements, but a little bit more, and adding a cell phone component. So think of it as an easy to use cell phone on your wrist. The traditional pendant where people would press a button, call for help. We took in that very useful feature, allowing people to actually speak to someone using a two-way communication right through their watch. We always refer to Dick Tracy, which many of our end users could appreciate. But also the typical wearables will measure vital signs, which we have. We also added temperature, and we're working on blood pressure. And throughout the day, at an hourly rate, we're measuring folks' activity levels. And what's also unique is we check in on people's mood levels, physical pain, have you taken your medication, anything that's simple and easy to respond on the watch, we will ask people. And so over time, you can imagine that we're able to amass a meaningful set of data, and then we will pick out the most relevant insight and share that with loved ones and caregivers through their mobile app in order to drive up social engagement and just a better level of awareness on how the older adult is doing.
Now, you showed a video at the conference about how the Ping watch had saved the life of an older adult. Can you tell us that story?
Yeah, so this happened in early November. So we had launched in July. This is 4 months after our launch at one of the assisted living communities. The lady has my phone number. She called me. I missed it. She left a voicemail describing very well of what happened. So this was about 2:00 in the morning. She fell at the location that was between her recliner and the bathroom. And so the typical pull cord was way too far for her to reach. And she didn't wear a pendant because at night, the pendant gets tangled up. Luckily, she had the ping watch. She presses the button and she was able to talk to the night shift caregiver. Within 2 minutes, they were there, and thank God she was doing okay afterwards.
One of the things that you're doing with the technology is making this a device that doesn't have to be charged very, very frequently. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so currently, because the device is cellular enabled, which is nice, you could call anywhere. The downside is it does draw battery quite often. So we've optimized the battery. Right now, it will last for 2 days on a 2-hour charge. Still, that might be cumbersome. So this new exciting technology we're working as R&D is what's called a far field power transfer. Essentially, without requiring actual contact, we're looking at 6 feet away, be able to have a slow charge overnight. That way, the older adult never has to remember to charge.
That is really exciting.
Fred, I've been really impressed by the kind of co-creation work that Sean and his team have done inside retirement communities. And I've seen the older adults like the colors of the watch bands that they have, and even suggest to the owners of retirement communities that they should get the product inside their community. But talk about how you've been taking this to market and making it available.
Yeah, although all of us understand that folks appreciate aging in place, we thought, because we were very passionate and wanting to break into to elder care, we decided to go into senior living because that was the fastest way for us to interact with many older adults at once. So it would speed up our learning curve. Along the way, we also found that we were able to help with operational efficiency for the caregivers. And so for now, we're very focused in senior living. And so for caregivers, the two value adds, one is two-way communication. In lieu of a pendant and pager, residents are actually able to communicate exactly what they need to save all the steps for caregivers to having to go to the room just to find out, they might just need a box of Kleenex. Secondly, we have remote vitals measurement. So one of the communities recently had a COVID outbreak, and every 2 hours, staff traditionally will have to put on their full PPE and measure their temperature and blood oxygen. We built a Track Vitals Now button that's a on-demand remote patient monitoring that allow staff to do that remotely.
That's really exciting stuff. There's a story behind this too, the motivation for you creating this. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so about 2 years ago, I was finishing up grad school, and my grandparents live back home in Beijing. That's where I moved from. And COVID hit, and I was really worried about how they were doing with the long distance. Communication was hard. So I thought, if I can just open up my phone, it tells me that grandma is doing okay. That will give me a lot of peace of mind. I have done a wearables company before, so I understand the tremendous capabilities. But typically, it's somebody who's frequently going to the gym, monitoring their own health to be able to appreciate that data. We wanted to grab the data, but share that with loved ones and make that a seamless experience for the older adult.
And of course, one of the things we learned at the conference is that staffing is one of the most urgent needs in senior living. Our podcast is distributed through the Spiro network into senior communities. So talk a little bit about the peace of mind you provide family caregivers and what that does to help them.
Yeah, I would say in two ways. One is the fact that this watch is a little cell phone. So when the older adult doesn't have a cell phone themselves or is very apt to pick up a phone call, I think all of us have had experiences where we can't get a hold of our elderly loved ones. The watch allows families to reach them right away. Secondly is the power of data. We will send out notifications if their elders are indicating that they're sad on the watch, or if there's a low blood oxygen level or high temperature as notifications. For specific residents, for example, with somebody who has supplemental oxygen, her daughter would truly appreciate being able to make sure that her O2 sats do not drop below 92%. She's able to see that now.
Are you thinking about addressing the consumer, direct-to-consumer market at all? I know the focus right now is certainly on the facilities, but a lot of people who might be watching or listening to this might be thinking, boy, I wish I could buy one of these.
Yeah, we've had people indicating interest on our website, and we can help out, individual consumers that way. And I will actually leave my email here. That's Sean, SEAN @pingcares.com. That's my personal email. If anybody would like to learn more about it, I'm more than happy. I'm usually the customer service person, so.
That's always a good person to be. That's what Craig of Craigslist did too. Sean, you taught me that the one-child policy in China has made it interesting time in the lives of older Chinese adults who are caregivers now, because you may be responsible for 4 older adults. And so I'm seeing more and more innovation from younger Chinese entrepreneurs wanting to solve some of those issues.
Yeah, and first of all, Mary, I don't know about teaching you. You have been such a tremendous mentor for myself and my team. As far as the one-child policy that lasted for quite some time, but now things are changing. The unfortunate nature is that there's such a diminishing rate of younger caregivers being able to take care of as many as actually 8 older adults, because if my wife is Chinese, she might have 4 sets of parents from both of her parents' side, with her grandparents, and etc. So the burden on the 2 of us, who might be the only child of our respective families, becomes pretty hard to imagine. So that's a real issue in China.
So Sean, we really love the work you do, and excited to have your talent contributing such an important company to this market. Fred, you have a few more companies and innovators to tell us about.
Mary, we love telling our listeners and viewers about new technology that can really make a difference. One company that's doing something unique is called OME, O-M-E, and joining us is the CEO and founder, Akshita Iyer. Hi, Akshita.
Hi, Fred. Thanks so much for having me here. It's an honor to share more about what we're building.
Well, very exciting here. Now, you've developed a smart stove knob designed to make cooking safer and easier. Give us the overview here.
Yeah, we are really fundamentally on a mission to just build a better kitchen. The home has really come to the forefront as being, a very important part of our lives, right? Especially over the last few years. And I started this company simply because I had a personal experience in my own home with my mom. She left the stove on one too many times and started a kitchen fire. And as someone who grew up in the kitchen, and every memory that I have is there when this happened, it was a big realization that my parents' lives are changing, especially as they get older. They want to stay at home. And smart technology just hasn't been able to keep up in the kitchen like it has in the rest of the home. And the kitchen is a challenging place, right? Appliances last 10 to 15 years. So it's not easy to just replace your appliance all the time with new technology. So we saw an opportunity to leverage your existing appliances to bring technology through retrofit solutions, just like your smart door locks and doorbells. So what we've built is the only retrofit system on the market today that can turn your standard gas or electric stove into a smart appliance without the need for a new one. So as you said, we have this smart knob that just replaces your existing stove knob, completely DIY to install, takes under 5 minutes. And importantly, you use your stove like you do every day. So you push, you turn. The only difference is that our device is Wi-Fi connected. It's got a built-in motor, so we can automatically and proactively control each burner based on what's happening in your kitchen. First and foremost, solving for the #1 cause of house fires, which is leaving the stove on, just like my mom did, and then building off from there.
And of course, there's a need with older adults. But if I can recall back to my 40s,
Yeah.
I remember going to the movie theater and thinking, you know, honey, did you leave the burner on?
Yeah, I mean, it happens with everyone, right? Regardless of age. I mean, we see a lot of our customers are, you know, busy parents, right? With young kids at home, they're working from home, multitasking, trying to get food on the table, and they're distracted. And so, you know, just leaving the stove on even for an extra 5 or 10 minutes may not even lead to a house fire, but it could lead to burnt food, right? Or burnt rice or overcooked pasta. Then you've got to start all over again. And so, you know, there are a variety of different scenarios, regardless, like you said, of age, where we can help with this technology.
Step us through the installation process here. It is fast and easy.
Yeah, so all you have to do is take your knob off. If you've never done that before, underneath your knob, there is a shaft. We have an adapter that goes onto the shaft. We give you an installation tool so you can set the height accordingly. And then our knob just attaches right back on. And then from there, we have an app that will guide you through a calibration process so that we know, and your app reflects the settings of your stove. So we're off, medium, low, and high are. And then from there, you use your stove like you do all the time, and you'll get real-time alerts through our app. You can also activate your Alexa skills if you would like to have some hands-free cooking control. You can do everything in our app that you can do through voice. And then after installation, it's pretty simple.
So these are powered. So there's a rechargeable battery in it. Step us through what needs to be done with that.
Yeah, we do have a rechargeable battery. So our app will let you know when your battery is at a low battery state, and then also at critically low. So we want to make sure that you charge that at the low battery state. We'll give you a notification. You simply just take the knob off. We have a USB-C port, so you just plug it in. It takes a few hours. Our app will let you know when it is fully charged so that you can go and install it back on. What is important too about how our knob is built is, you know, if you take that knob off and for some reason you need to still use that burner, you can actually just take that adapter off very easily. You can put your old knob back on so that you can use it, and then you can just install our knob back on as well. So we typically find, though, our customers are charging this overnight, so they're usually not using the stove at that time. So we don't see too many issues with that. And our battery lasts about 4 to 6 months.
So you mentioned how this came about, and when you came up with the idea, you did an appearance on Shark Tank. Tell us about it.
Yeah, you know, it's funny, Fred. It kind of came full circle because when I had this experience in my own home, this was around the time where I was actually watching a lot of Shark Tank. So my degree is in neuroscience, so never expected to know anything about or so much about kitchen appliances. But I took a few gap years. I worked at a hospital and was watching a lot of Shark Tank, and to be honest, got very inspired by all of these entrepreneurs that didn't have your typical engineering, product development, ex-Apple, Google backgrounds, just building solutions for their own problems. So that's how I really had the courage to start something when I had this incident. And then, a year later, Shark Tank actually found us and reached out and said, hey, you're building something interesting. Would you come on the show? And so it was a very surreal moment to actually be in that tank after watching religiously for a long time. It was a great experience. The power of the show outside of, that giving you that courage as an entrepreneur was that, we got so much visibility, right? You have thousands of people that are reaching out, sharing how valuable the technology is. And at the time, we barely had a functioning prototype. So, we weren't able to capitalize immediately on the revenue potential if we had been selling product. But we did hear from so many people about the applications of our technology beyond just peace of mind and safety. Like, can we use this as a way to actually bring true automation to your most used cooking appliance that has traditionally been left out of the smart appliance group? And we were offered a deal from Robert, but didn't take it. he was not the right shark. I don't think it was the right deal. And to be honest, at the time, I was still trying to figure out what this whole startup thing was about. And, I think if we had taken the money at that time, probably would have just gone down the drain. Because we didn't take that money, I had to really just learn. And I went out to the Bay Area for some time, met a ton of founders to figure out, who do you raise money from? How do you raise money? What is a pitch deck? How do you think about, market expansion, go to market? So all in all, I think it worked out in our best interest, but it was a very game-changing experience just to have the courage and the validation that we were actually onto something.
And then you ran into, obviously, like everyone, the issues with manufacturing and shipping and all of that, which came at a time when you were ready to get rolling here, right?
Yeah, exactly. We brought on our first hire about 6 months before COVID hit. And so, then, we were a fully remote team really until last year. And then on top of it, when you're building a first generation product, you're not really thinking about, the supply chain issues that ended up hitting us. And so, it was very challenging in 2020 and 2021 as we were trying to get out our first devices to get the components we needed. And we were able to work around it, and we were able to leverage our partners who did a lot of the fighting for us to get the parts that we needed. And we were still able to ship a lot of product in the last, year and a half. But we are now working on our next generation device and taking all the learnings that we had from all these supply chain issues to make sure that our next generation is much more flexible as it relates to, different components that we can swap out. But, especially as a small business, and as a small company, the supply chain issues that we saw the last couple of years were challenging to say the least.
So tell us what you can about what you're working on.
Yeah, one of the big things that we learned from, our Gen 1 was, first the purpose of Gen 1 was to make sure that this thing works. It works as we say it does. People use it. The core technology is robust, which we proved. But then, we started to see, we had compatibility constraints. If you think about your stove tops where the knobs are closer together, these might not fit side by side because it's bigger than your typical stovetop knobs. So we knew we had to figure out how to get the size down. And then also importantly, Fred, aesthetics in the kitchen are huge, right? People buy specific ranges because of how they look and how the knobs look. And so we wanted to make sure that with our next generation that we could have some design flexibility so that if you have red knobs, pink, blue, purple, that we could account for that. So with our next generation, we do have a much more compact design. So our compatibility is a lot greater. We'll be able to fit with almost any brand, model, and style stove. And then we also will allow you to have more design options so that your stove looks exactly like it does now, but it's got our technology built in.
These are designed to work with the gas or electric ranges?
Gas or electric, any stove that has a knob.
And if you were to move or get a new appliance, assuming it has knobs, because some today, I guess, are push button things.
Yeah.
If there are knobs, you can take this with you and put it on the new appliance, I assume.
You absolutely can. And we designed this specifically because of that, right? Like if you're renting an apartment and you want to leave, you want to take this with you, you can uninstall the entire system and you can reinstall the old knobs back on your stove and it'll look like nothing ever happened. And you can take this with you. If you need additional installation parts, you can reach out to us and we'll give those to you. But yeah, you can take this anywhere.
Tell me about the markets that you're targeting with this.
Yeah. So, ultimately, this is a piece of technology that I want in every home, either as a retrofit or as an integrated solution into an appliance. Where we have seen the most adoption, as I mentioned earlier, what we call our family warriors, right? Busy parents, typically middle-aged adults who have young kids at home. They're always multitasking. They want to cook at home because it's healthier, it's cheaper, and they're already adopters of all of the smart home security systems because they're very vigilant about the safety of their families. What we started to see over the last year were that, though that demographic, we were kind of killing two birds with one stone because they were buying this for themselves, and then they were also buying this for their aging family members. And so then we started to see this shift into, can we leverage our technology for older adults who are at an increased risk of cooking accidents, but who want to age at home and are looking and spending thousands of dollars at a time to retrofit their homes with assistive technologies that allow them to preserve their independence, right? 10,000 baby boomers a day are turning 65, and they all want to stay in their own homes. And so we have now, started to capture that market more with multi-unit building and property managers. So think your, independent living communities and, going through organizations that are already serving that demographic. And so I think with those two, we have found a very core and enthusiastic group of customers that really find value from our technology every day. We also do have our early tech adopters, right, who love cutting edge technology and who want to have the smartest home and who have a passion for cooking and using innovation to enhance their skills. So that seems to be where we're playing right now.
Tell us about the alerts that are enabled here and how that can help in a household and maybe even remotely with caregivers.
Yeah. So the alerts we have today, basically whenever the knob needs to do something, right? So if you set a cooking timer and that timer expires, we'll send you notification that your stove has turned off and your food is ready. If our auto shut off engages, we also send you a notification that, hey, your stove was left on, we turned it off for you. You can even go into our app and confirm just to get that visual indication that the knob is off. And then for caregivers and family members, what we see is all of those alerts can be sent to whomever you want them to be sent to. And what we're working on now is actually building in algorithms to be able to detect any variance in cooking activity. So one thing, especially for, the senior living communities is if we can establish a baseline of, how often is someone cooking? Are they cooking every day, every other day? What time? Let's say all of a sudden, there's a resident that doesn't cook for 4 days. We can recognize that is an anomaly in their traditional cooking activity, and we can alert the appropriate caregiver. So, the basic alerts right now are really just keeping you informed of what's happening on your stove. We also have a safety lock, so you can actually lock the knobs if after 9 o'clock nobody should be using it. And if it's turned on, we automatically turn it off, and we will send you notification that your stove is being used when it shouldn't be, and then looking to expand on that based on feedback from our customer base too, on what information and what alerting tools are valuable.
And we should tell people that there is no way this can be used to remotely turn the stove on.
Yes. For safety reasons, we do not allow remote turn on just mechanically. So if you cook often, you've got to push and turn, that still has to happen. So there's no way for our knob to be turned on remotely. Once you turn it on, then we can take over and either change the temperature or turn it off. So yeah, you are right. No remote turn on. So you don't have to worry about, someone accidentally turning your stove on when you're not there.
Tell us about pricing and availability.
Yeah, so you can find our device and buy it on our website at ohmkitchen.com. And we sell our device in different packages. So you can buy a set of 4 for your entire stove at $549. And you can also add additional knobs if you have more than 4 burners. You can also just buy 1 or 2 if you just want to test it out. And let's say you only use 1 or 2 burners the most. So you can find it on our website. And then, as I said, we are also working with senior living communities, independent living communities. So if this is something that you want your community to integrate, you can always reach out to us as well, so we can work with, your property managers and facilities managers to get this integrated.
Joining us from the University of Waterloo in Canada and the Social and Intelligent Robotics Research Lab is Dr. Ali Ayub. Hi, Ali.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, pleasure to meet you. Now, you've been making some headlines with the work you and the team there have been doing following the publication of a scientific paper. Give us the overview.
Yeah, of course. A quick overview, I guess, of the system is that we're trying to develop a episodic memory system, so kind of a memory management system for a robot that could assist people in their households, specifically to find any items that might have gone missing or items that might be misplaced in their house. And our goal is to be first use it for assisting people that might have disabilities such as dementia, but I think the system could actually be eventually used for general use for anyone.
Oh, I was going to say you have a lot of people excited, I think, by these headlines here. Tell us about the potential use case scenarios and how this could be used.
Yes, of course. So as I mentioned, the first potential use case is actually for helping people with dementia, initially perhaps their caregivers, so that they could use this technology to help them perhaps find any items in their house. But actually the goal further than that is actually to help people that might be like older adults in their households, to even remind them about, let's just say, taking medicine or actually going through the events of the day in general, rather than just simply finding objects. Yeah, so those are some potential applications. And then finally, a quick, easy application is for us users to just have an app on our phone, and we could pretty much look through our robot's memory on that and see, hey, I lost my keys. Let's see where they are. Or let's ask the robot where it might have seen the last time in the house. Yeah.
So how would this work? Would you have a robot essentially tagging along with you all of the time, keeping track of where you're putting things?
So actually the goal is that the robot would be in your house, and essentially it could be a companion robot or an assistive robot. And it could be performing tasks in the household. It could be like, for example, a Roomba, let's just say. We're not hoping to apply it in the Roomba, but let's just giving an example. So the Roomba, let's just say, cleaning your house, and it still uses camera to maybe track some of the things that might be in your household. And then you could just simply go through the memory of your Roomba and then check it. So it doesn't have to be tracked, attached to you the whole time. It simply just has to be in your household doing its own tasks, while it also does the job of actually having its memory be available to be tracked using an app for the users.
Is your plan to actually build robots or sell your technology to companies that are building robots?
Our hope is actually not to build like a physical robot. We're actually mainly interested in developing the technology itself. And then if it does get to a point that it is applicable in the real world, and we are hoping to do some studies with people with disabilities as well. And then hopefully we can move forward with plans to, I guess, commercialize it.
Where are you on the roadmap here in terms of really bringing this into homes and helping people?
We're hoping to actually start testing it in a smart home type facility. And then for smaller robots, that actually could work out and could be deployed in real homes right now, although with some extra work needed from our side still. Yeah.
So Technically, what is the robot doing? What is your contribution to this? What does your software do?
Technically, it is able to, I guess, detect objects in a household type or wherever actually in the environment for the robot. And after detecting them, it could even track them. So essentially, if the objects move around, the robot could still actually track them, that this is the same object that is moving around in the environment. And then based on that, using that detection and tracking of objects, the robot can store the situations when a new object appears in a particular environment or when it leaves a particular area. And then users could search through that memory using simply like searching for a particular object that they might be interested in. So for example, a cell phone, and then the robot could actually provide the user with information, for example, that the cell phone was seen in this particular area on this day and at this time. The robot doesn't have to track everything in the house. The users can simply tell the robot using the GUI that whatever it needs to track. So the users could tell the robot, hey, so for example, me, if I lose my phone or keys or I don't know, some special mug, then I could simply tell the robot from using that GUI, graphical user interface, which objects are important to me and and those are the objects that the robot should track.
Well, it sounds very exciting there, and you've got a team of people working on this and
Yeah.
hoping to have trials going when? Later this year, next year?
Well, I'm hoping that we could have a study, like a user study, either late this year or maybe early to mid next year.
Well, it sounds very exciting. Congratulations on the work you and the team there are doing, and there's going to be a lot of interest in it, I think, as you move forward.
Yeah.
Dr. Ali Ayub, thank you for spending time with us.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks a lot for inviting me, and yeah, I'm excited to work on this. But yeah, have a nice day. Thank you.
Wow, I bet all of our listeners and viewers can't wait for technology that can remind them where they left things. Your phone, your glasses, your keys. I can't wait.
Yeah, but it does sound like we'll have to wait for a little while anyway. But Ali and his team at the University of Waterloo in Canada have been making some headlines.
And we're very happy that he could join us on the podcast along with The technology is exciting and game-changing. And there's a tremendous energy that's still pervasive that we saw last week. And we hope to bring to our viewers through this podcast.
Absolutely. Well, that will do it for this edition. We have to let Mary get back to her new grandson, Paul. Congratulations again, Mary. And we want to thank our sponsor, Vivid Pics. Don't let your memories fade. And thank you for tuning in. You can always find us and also What's Next Longevity Deal Talk at maryfurlong.com/podcast.